What we're moving from in pain research is from what we, like I said, a less mechanistic, A happens, it sends signals up, B goes, brain hurts, okay, that kind of thing, to more a neuroplasticity model, kind of the brain's an adaptive learning, organ, and pain fits into that. We adapt and learn pain, believe it or not.
Welcome to Meredith for Real, the Curious Introvert. That's me. I'm Meredith, and I collect people. For real. You never know who I'm going to meet next. So come listen as I put my curiosity to good use. Every week, I'll introduce you to someone new, and we'll talk about ways to stay curious and grow. Big thanks to our location sponsor, Delta Life Fitness in Pace, Florida, the 30-minute women's group fitness plan you can actually stick with.
As a rule, I am drawn to people who operate outside the box. That's why when I met my next guest to get a chiropractic adjustment, I was immediately intrigued when he walked me through an autonomic nervous system downregulation technique as a part of my treatment. I was even more intrigued when I learned his wife is an MD in internal medicine. I can only imagine the conversations they must have. And he applies a wide spectrum of knowledge to his practice. Today, he's going to talk about the psychology of chronic pain. Stay to the end where he shares tips on how you can hurt less from home. Anti-dogmatic, lifelong learner, Taekwondo black belt, Dr. Rob Thomson, everyone.
Hi.
So a lot of people would be just super content with their practice to have just like a pop crack out the door, come back 3 times a week for 700 years of your life.
Yes.
Why
a lot of people are content with that.
Why aren't you?
Because that lets people slip through the cracks. That lets people that aren't helped by that, which, chiropractic is an amazingly powerful tool. But the standard pop crack adjustment doesn't fix everybody, doesn't help everybody. And those are the people that I really, really, really like to help.
Is the hard cases?
The harder the better. The harder the better. The more chronic, the more they've been to everybody under the sun. I just, those are the people I wanted. They're the most rewarding, for sure.
The people that have been to chiropractors and say, that didn't work for me, or...
Yeah, I love those. I like to see the light bulb moment,
Yeah.
Or the people who have been to the chiropractors, to pain management, the surgeons, through the run of the mill. And there's a lot of them out there.
Yes, there are. And you integrate a lot of different techniques.
Yes.
So many that I was going to list them in your intro. And I was like, first of all, these are really big words. Second of all, this is a super long list. So can you highlight a couple of them that are, they're all out of the ordinary, but can you highlight a couple of them?
Sure. So a couple of things that are pretty prevalent and strong is a technique called PRT, or primitive reflex release technique. And that's what you touched on. That's the autonomic downregulation. And I really like that technique in particular because it's super fast and it blows people's minds. And it starts the idea that, oh, wait, maybe I don't have to be in pain, which is pretty cool. And the autonomic nervous system can be a big role in how we perceive pain, So to be able to work from that angle can help a lot of people. I also do all the standard chiropractic stuff that every other one kind of just sticks with, but take your pick. Diversified adjustments, flexion distraction, Gonstead, Thompson drop table.
Yeah.
I've kind of gone through it all. Active release technique for soft tissue, Graston technique for soft tissue, which when you have a lot of different tools in your belt, you can work on a lot of different problems.
Yeah, those soft tissue ones that you talked about, those are the ones that surprised, well, other than the autonomic downregulation, that surprised me second the most because it's not a chiropractic adjustment and it helped me so much.
Right.
So, yeah. So the first one, what was it called?
PRRT.
PRRT.
Yep.
Is that connected to the psychology of chronic pain?
Yeah, it's a part of it, So we say psychology and people automatically think, okay, well, that's how we think about things and how we perceive the world and that kind of stuff. And most people kind of have this idea that pain is a relatively mechanistic thing, you know. There's some sort of trauma that sends signals to the brain. We go, oh, it hurts, and that's it, it's done. There's so much more to that. There's a lot of integration, and pain's not actually generated in the periphery. It's generated in the brain. So that's in the autonomic nervous system, a big component of that. When we're stressed out, when we're tight and tense, and when we have trauma, when we have past life experiences, when we have, you know, just all that kind of stuff, it all feeds into that loop of chronic pain. So
that's such a weird thought, that our pain isn't in our body, that our pain is in our mind. 100%. It's kind of, I don't know, that's really weird.
You want a good example?
Yeah.
All right. So, and everybody, I think, can kind of think back and find something in their life that's similar to this. So when I was a kid, I was on a sailboat with my dad, and we anchored, and we were going to jump off and swim to a little island. It was awesome. It was a fun day. So I jump off, I kick off, and and I felt my foot kick the side of the boat, you know, no big deal. I swim in, I feel good. I get up, I'm standing on the beach, I'm looking around, and then I look down, and all of a sudden I notice there's a giant puddle of blood around my foot. And what had happened was I'd kicked off the boat, and my foot got cut on a barnacle. Big gash. But I didn't feel it, right? There was obviously trauma to my foot.
Right.
But I didn't feel it. There was no perception of pain. There was nothing until I saw the blood, and then it was like the countdown hammer. 3, 2, 1. Ah! You know. Now all of a sudden there's a visual representation. It ties in. My brain goes, "Hey, yo, tissue damage. That hurts." Even though the actual trauma itself didn't cause any pain, as soon as there was a visual representation, as soon as the idea that blood equals trauma, that means pain, now all of a sudden the emotional and limbic part of my brain goes, hey, you need to protect yourself, and it makes it hurt. But before that, there was nothing, right? There was a solid 2 or 3 minutes of nothing, even though I was gushing blood, you know, shark bait into the water.
Right, exactly.
But I think a lot of people are, hey, where'd you get that bruise? Huh? Oh, I have no idea. And then all of a sudden it's on your mind. Like, man, that thing really hurts.
Yeah.
Even though obviously the bruise, you could have done that yesterday.
Right.
You know, and now all of a sudden you see the perception. So the pain's generated here. It's not necessarily in the periphery.
So how does that translate with memories, like, or trauma in the body, as far as like chronic pain? Because what you just talked about is immediate pain.
Yep, acute, absolutely.
Acute pain.
Right.
So what about the people that either they had, a few episodes back, we had someone talk about child abuse, and she's talked about how kids who have experienced child abuse they're more likely to have physical problems later on in adulthood than kids who did not have child abuse. So is that an example of what you're talking about?
It can be. So, you know, when we talk about the things that feed into our perception of pain, it's not just trauma to the body. It's stress. It's our lifestyle. It's whether we're lonely or not. It's depression. It's our food choices. It's whether we exercise or not. It's on and on. It's so multifactorial. And so with abuse cases, a lot of times those are repetitive traumas, you know, and they tend to get internalized. For a lot of people, they hide that, you know, and they feel like they just have to cope and deal and hold it, you know. And when we have chronic pain, the lines, the distinct areas of our brain that kind of say, hey, this is where we have pain, or this is what's going on, things start to blur, right? And things can come diffuse, and, you know, the emotionality behind it, you might say, you know, you see weird stuff, you know. You get abused, and your brain says, man, my knee hurts.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just weird stuff. I mean, there's no rhyme or reason to a lot of it, other than it helps to recognize that there can be an external factor or an internal factor, I should say, that's driving that. It doesn't necessarily mean there's anything wrong with that body part.
It's almost like your body's trying to tell you to deal with something.
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, absolutely.
So what's the science behind that? Because, I am totally on board with those ideas. But I think for some people that prefer a more A plus B equals C, I cut
Sure.
my finger, therefore it hurts.
Right.
They need a little bit.
So what we're moving from in pain research is from like I said, a less mechanistic, A happens, it sends signals up, B goes, brain hurts, okay, that kind of thing, to more a neuroplasticity model, kind of the brain's an adaptive learning, organ, and pain fits into that. We adapt and learn pain, believe it or not. So the science is that generally with trauma, that increases stress, right? We just tend to have an underlying level of more stress. Our autonomic nervous system, our fight or flight's ramped up. And especially when you're put in a situation where there's memory of a trauma. So it could be every time I go home and, Uncle Bob's there, and then all of a sudden my back hurts, right? When we get stressed out, what happens is that large muscle groups tighten up. We're getting ready to run or to
fight
fight.
Or flight.
Right? And so a lot of times those large muscle groups, and then what also happens is that the small muscle groups turn off. And the small muscle groups, especially when we're talking about spinal pain, that's just kind of my thing, is that the small muscle groups are what tell us where our spine is in space. Right? They're little bitty guys. They don't really affect motion, but they have what we call proprioceptors that say, hey, when it stretches, that means this thing's moving, that kind of stuff. And when they turn off, we lose the ability to know where our spine is in space. And when we lose that, we lose the ability to adapt. We lose the ability to perceive where we are in space. And a lot of times that gets interpreted as pain. We get confusing signals, that kind of thing. So just stress alone, which is very common in a trauma, and somebody that's had trauma. But it can be, I had 3 car accidents now. Every time I get in the car, I hurt because I'm worried I'm going to get rear-ended. It can be that. I've seen that a lot.
Yeah.
But it can be anything where we have a memory of injury and our body's primed and ready. And that's a perfectly normal thing. If you think about it, you're walking through the African savannah.
Right.
You step on a snake, right? The next time you're walking through the grass, you're already tense, ready for that snake to come out.
Yeah.
So it's a normal physiological thing.
Yeah, Monkey Meredith is just trying to survive.
You got it. You got it. It's all survival mechanisms.
So when you're treating a patient, how do you know if that's what the deal is with that patient?
Hey everyone, it's time to take a quick minute and show gratitude to our sponsors who make this show possible and give you some special offers. Delta Life is ladies group fitness in Pace, Florida, and I've been a member since 2016. I get bored super easy and I am great at talking myself out of exercise, like expert level 5,000. So having a class to show up that's different every time has been winner chicken dinner for me. And with it just being 30 minutes, there's really no reason not to go. Plus, they do fun social stuff like Christmas pajama parties, little black dress events, and challenges. You can get your first class free to try it out. You can even come with me. There's no annual contract. It's all fitness levels, free childcare. Plus, if you mention the Meredith for Real podcast on your first visit, you'll get a free 5-pack of classes so you can really see if you like it. Check them out at deltalifefitness.com.
Well, we can always ask, so part of the subjective component, some part of the interview with the patients, hey, have we had any major falls, major accidents, that kind of stuff? You're not always going to get to physical abuse, that kind of trauma in one visit. That's when a relationship has to happen. And sometimes things just aren't quite getting fixed the way you want to, and you can kind of work into that. Some of it's just intuition. Mm-hmm. You work with enough bodies, you kind of say, hey, something's not right here. You get an idea, you get a gauge of, what's going on. A lot of times they feel better, and then, hey, this came back when I was there. Okay, what was happening? That kind of thing. It just takes time, and it's not always a first visit thing.
Yeah, I would think that it would take some awareness on the part of the patient too.
Sure.
I know it did for me, because there was like certain people I was hanging out with, and I'm like, dang, my jaw really hurts when I hang out with these people.
You get stressed out.
And then I was like, oh, and I think like holding my tongue,
Yep.
And then physically that part got really tight. So now I don't hang out with those people.
Yeah. And that's, strong for you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you have any like stories of patients that had like examples, I guess you could give, of learned pain?
Sure. The most common is probably auto accidents. Especially multiple accidents, and they've been through the mill and they never can get better. It's like, hey, every time you get in your car, you're doing this or that kind of stuff. It's just educating people on why and how the pain system works can do wonders. Sometimes just knowing that the brain is the main generator.
Yeah.
There's actually really good research that shows that just teaching people that neuroplasticity model, saying, hey, this is where the pain's generated. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have trauma to your body anymore. Your body's healed. This is a learned thing that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
That enough can dampen the pain. And that's a pretty powerful model. That's why any of my patients know, I'm telling them, hey, this is what's going on. You've got a map in your brain of your body. I go through my whole spiel, and it gives people hope to know that, oh, maybe I'm not broken.
Yeah, that this doesn't have to be the way that it is.
Absolutely.
So why is traditional medicine not following more of this sort of model, even on the very basic level of listening skills?
You really want to know?
Yeah. Do you know who you're talking to? Of course I really want to know.
Two main reasons is insurance and reimbursements. Right? And so your normal primary care practitioner, your normal chiropractor, your normal whoever you're going to see that's accepting insurance, they got to have a high turnover rate. And they don't have time to sit down and have a conversation with you. In their mind, that's the psychologist's job.
Yes.
Right? And I've worked with patients and have integrated well with their psychologists and that kind of stuff, and sometimes they need more than what I can give them in a 20, 30-minute session kind of thing. But in general, there's just a really high turnover rate. It's 4 minutes, It's like, that's it. That's all you're going to get. And what can you do in 4 minutes? You can adjust something really quick. Or if you're primary care, you can say, okay, you've got this, and this. Here's your referral or here's your drug. That's the model we live in, right? And the pharmaceutical companies push that. So, and the drugs just mask it. They don't fix anything.
So with being married to an internist, how does it, I really am curious about the conversations you guys must have at home.
We have a few.
Do you see eye to eye on most things, or are there some things that you just agree to disagree?
We see eye to eye on a lot of things. Part of that is that Erica works in a hospital setting. She likes to work on the people that are sick enough to be in the hospital, right? And her goal is to get them well enough to get out of the hospital, and then hopefully they go seek the proper care and get their lives better, right?
To be well.
My job is outpatient. She doesn't like outpatient, right? So we fit well in that respect.
Yeah.
But yeah, we get in some scuffles sometimes.
Hey, that's healthy, I think.
Absolutely. Keeps us on our toes.
Yeah, I would think so. Where did you learn your style of chiropractic care? Even though I say your style, you have really a lot of styles underneath the umbrella of your style, but...
I went to school at Logan Chiropractic College, which is in Chesterfield, Missouri, and that's kind of where it all started. Although I shouldn't say that. It all started, my dad's a chiropractor, so I'm second generation, but I didn't know I wanted to be a chiropractor until 4th year of undergrad.
Oh my gosh.
As a matter of fact, I was determined not to be a chiropractor. And then I realized maybe I didn't want to be a marine biologist. I actually want to help people. So that's kind of where that that journey started. So I've grown up seeing my dad help people, and my dad's always been another one of those outside the box, lifelong learner kind of guys.
Yeah.
And so he's a good example from that standpoint. So even while I was at Logan, I was continually taking as many extracurricular classes that I could. I went ahead and completed 90% of my functional neurology diplomate, which is kind of most chiropractors will do that well after they're done with school. But I went and did it conjoined, did them together. So then, I'm just always integrating and learning. I'm not afraid to learn from other fields. I'll go to PT, physical therapist courses. I'll go to massage therapy courses. I'll go, because everybody's got something that works well, and the more you know, the more you can integrate it. So it's just been a lifelong integration of all the different things I've learned. Like I said, I don't stick to one thing. If something's not working, then we move on to the next thing, or try a little bit of this, try a little bit of that. Everybody knows I don't like letting people walk out my door if they're still hurting.
No, I do know that. You're like, test it again, walk the hall. You said you have a few ways that our listeners can hurt less from home.
Absolutely.
Can you share those?
Sure. So knowing that our brain is kind of where we generate the pain, then and these are things that most people have probably heard, but once you kind of understand it, maybe it'll help a little bit. Number one is move. All right. Even if it hurts to move a particular body part, you can move something else. And movement's a very, very powerful tool. Our bodies are designed to move. Our brains are actually developed so that we can move and respond to the environment. Any organism out there that moves has a brain. Any organism that doesn't move doesn't have a brain. It's that simple. That's what our brains are designed for. And so it's very important for our brain health and our body health, and that proprioceptive feedback, the feeling of our joints moving, that helps downregulate pain tremendously.
So would walking be a good
if you
way
can
to...
walk and it doesn't aggravate the crap out of you, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Is if walking hurts because your brain's telling you pain's in your hip, then maybe walking's not the best thing. Maybe you should go to the gym and get on the arm bike. That's
so don't necessarily ignore the pain.
No, I'm not saying ignore the pain. I always tell people, look, if it's really sharp pain, then, and it's driving you nuts, sometimes that will actually make it worse. And so we don't want that, right? But if you can do a movement that doesn't cause pain, I'm okay with soreness later. I'm okay with dull, achy pain later, right? But we want to move, So when coach to tell you, well, walk it off, that was actually kind of sound neurological advice, right? So that's number one. Number two is eat well, right? Because that's going to reduce general background inflammation, right? And so when we have systemic inflammation, things hurt more, right? And so just eat good food.
I think most people think they eat good food. So can you elaborate a little bit on how do you know if you have background inflammation and what's some good food?
All right. How do you know if you have background inflammation? Pretty much if you're eating something that comes out of a box and has ingredients that you don't know what the heck they are, you have background inflammation. I mean, that's just, if you're eating processed food, your body doesn't handle that well. If you can look at it and there's multiple ingredients and you see chemical words, you've got background inflammation. And the way you also know you have background inflammation is eat whole foods, right? I'm not going to be super dogmatic on, how much meat, how much vegetables, all that kind of stuff. I'm actually kind of just as long as you're eating good source quality meat, you're eating good source quality fish, beef, pork, I don't care. Just eat some good food, eat real vegetables, eat fruit, make your stuff at home, cook, that kind of thing. Within days, you'll hurt less. If you get rid of the processed carbohydrates, the sugars, the breads, the pastas, all that kind of stuff, and the more you limit that, sodas, all of a sudden you feel better, you're more energetic, your joints move more freely, there's less inflammation, there's less swelling, all that kind of stuff. It's just a general overall, you're healthier,
Better wellness.
You got it. And I know that sounds cliche, but it's real.
But it makes sense. If most of us are hurting and most of us are eating like crap.
It's a big one.
And we all have to eat anyway, so it's not like... I love that tip because it doesn't take more time. We're already having lunch.
You got it.
We can just have a better lunch.
You got it.
So move,
Eat well.
Eat well.
Right. And then the other one is that we have a tendency to focus on our pain. When things hurt, especially when they're chronic, that takes over our lives, right? And the other thing that people have a tendency to do is to catastrophize their pain. Is to say, I'm hurting, now I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, this is ruining my life, that kind of thing. And it's normal. It's a normal psychological thing to go through, right? But if you recognize you're doing it, then you can take steps to stop. And so focus on the things that are working well. Focus on the things that are good in your life, right? And just, know that there's hope, that you can live a life without pain. I mean, if you can start on that road, and you don't have to be 100%, like all of a sudden go from I'm dying chronic pain to I'm happy. It doesn't work that way.
Not fake.
No, you can't be fake. It's work, But if you realize that if you start down that path and you find the things, hey, you know what? When I was doing this, I didn't notice the pain so much. So maybe this doesn't have to be 100%. Let's do that again, or what was good today? When was a good moment? That kind of stuff. There's always something. There's always a moment when you're distracted and the things don't hurt, and when you realize that there's that kind of power, then it starts to break that stranglehold that chronic pain can have on you.
So wouldn't self-talk kind of tie into that? Because
Yes.
I hear people say they really take ownership of their pain, like, oh, yeah, my bad knee. Or, that's just my grandmammy had it and my mom had it, and so I have it. And it's like they've really claimed it.
Yeah, people claim it. Yeah, it becomes an identity.
So changing that up might be even part of the...
Yeah, it's not you. I tell people all the time, your pain's not you. It doesn't define you.
That's so good. I love it. These tips have been fantastic.
Good.
So if you're watching or listening and I didn't ask a question that you wanted asked, then you can email me, message me. I will get some bonus content, do a bonus episode, and email it out. And you can be a part of that list by texting REAL to 66866. Thank you. Oh, where can people find you on social media?
They can find me on Facebook at Dr. Robert. No, I don't even know. Robert Thomson Jr.
Okay, with
DC.
no P.
No P. THOMSON. You got it. And drrobchiropractic.com.
And in person, downtown Pensacola.
280 North Palafox.
Boom. Awesome. Well,
Yes.
that's a wrap. High
Awesome.
five.
Thank you, Meredith.
Way to go. Nice job.
Thanks for listening. If you liked this episode, share it with your friends and leave a review. You can also watch the episodes on YouTube. There's hidden curious caches in each episode, and the first 2 people to find them win a prize. So be sure to get my emails for clues and other insider perks at meredithforreal.com.